Hey everyone, as you know, this year I've been talking about tools and things to use like flashes and tripods and things. But I want to talk about something a little different for this episode. I want to talk about being able to use outside resources. Now, I'm not talking about getting a second photographer for your event, but what I am talking about is for nature photographers or for photographers who do a lot of outdoor photography, and that's all they do. So you shoot weddings outside, which usually are spring and summer type events, maybe some fall, but usually not in the winter. Or you do portraits and things outdoors as opposed to having a studio, getting that natural lighting, getting that beautiful natural background, real background, as opposed to a green screen or a drop-down background. We can only shoot during certain times of the year, right? But it'd be nice if we had a stream of funds year-round. One way to do that is to obviously turn your photographs into money. Now, while you're out shooting portraits, you can shoot some landscapes, you can shoot birds, you can shoot some other things that are around there. Maybe that's what you do as your primary, is shoot birds and things. Now, what if instead of just selling the picture of the bird, you were able to turn that into a physical thing that people can use every day, such as a bookmark? I recently opened an Etsy store. The bookmarks that I'm putting up there right now are AI generated. I'm not putting a lot up for that. There's just a couple of really cool patterns that I made with the AI generator that I want to put out. But I'm going to go and use the photos that I get, that I take over the course of the year for certain things. For example, I have a crow that now visits the house. I have a red-tailed hawk that visits the house. I can take pictures of those, and I can turn those into bookmarks. Now, I'm not talking about printing it out and putting it in a laminate. I'm talking about 3D printing the bookmark. Now, this is a different skill set than being a photographer. I'm not going to lie about the fact that there's more effort to this. And this is why I say partnering up with somebody else. To take your photograph and turn it into a bookmark, you are going to need to take your photograph, do all the retouching and things on it that you would normally do, but now you need to put it into a format for a bookmark. All right? We're not talking social media size here. We're talking a little bit thinner and a lot longer than what you're going to see on your screen. The ones that I've got are approximately 5 inches long that I made. Why 5 inches? I wanted to go with something that would fit into a book, not just slip out of a book, and something I could hook a tassel to that would look good. So there's several steps that I have to do to this process. Step one, I have to turn that picture, once it's in the proper format, into an STL. Now, you can do that with a program called HueForge, which will take your photograph, make an STL out of it, and allow you to pull your colors in and put your colors where you want them. 3D printing is done in layers from the back to the front. Because of that, and we're talking about front lit things here, we're not talking about backlit. It's a different beast when you're going backlit. Because when you're doing backlit, the light's going to come through the back and your colors have to blend on the way out so that the eye sees those blended colors. With these, it's a little bit simpler and a little bit more difficult. The simpler part is it's a black background. You don't have to worry about it going up against a light. Everything's going to be straight light down to it. What you print is what you're going to see. With anything that's backlit, like a lithophane, what you print doesn't look like much until you backlight it. These are bookmarks. They're not going to be backlit, so I'm not doing them in that format. But in order for this to work, the different colors have to be at different levels because that 3D printing is done layer by layer. It's not that when you paint something, you can just go grab another brush, a different color, and paint that different color. You're all on the same level, but you can just go grab different colors. It doesn't work the same way here. You're doing an entire layer at that color. When you do black, that whole layer is black. When you do white, that entire layer is white. When you're trying to blend a face and get the proper color for a face, if you don't have the proper filament for a skin tone and you're trying to blend it with a little bit of orange and a little bit of yellow to try to get that ruddy look, maybe a little bit of brown, you're going to have to work on that at different levels. Now, certain colors and certain skin tones are a little bit easier to work with because if you're working at that single layer. The more nuanced the skin tone is, the more difficult it's going to be. For example, let's think about a bride, right? She might have some rosy cheeks. If that's at the same color, same level as the rest of the face, you can't make them rosy. You're just going to have to come up with the best that you can to match that person's face. So the same goes with flowers, right? The different colors in the flowers have to be at different levels in order for it to work. So you have to work with something like HueForge to change the levels, to drop the colors in where you want them to be. You're painting with a device that's going to do the entire layer at that color. So if you were doing a painting, and you've probably seen some street chalk artists do this, where they can do the entire thing in one color and then they just keep overlaying with different colors and making it thicker, giving it that 3D to it, but at the same time blending all these different colors together. You're doing the same thing here. So what you're going to do is either learn how to do this yourself or find someone who can render your images the way you want them to look. Now, they're not going to look like the photograph, basically because you have to have enough colors for it. And depending on what you're going to print is what colors you've got. So this is where it gets a little tricky. You would have to find somebody who is able to take your photograph and then do the next step and set it up as a print job. Or you have to find two people, a partnership between the company that's going to do the printing and the person who's going to do the artwork for you. Now, if they're using something like HueForge, you'll be able to have them send you a picture of what your picture looks like and what their rendering will look like. Now, it's not exact, but it's close enough that you're going to be able to recognize what you're going to get as a final output. The less color there is, the easier it is. For example, if you have a tiger, a white tiger is going to be easier to render than an orange tiger, because a white tiger, while there will be little bits of gray and things in their fur, you can get away with not having that much detail to it. But when you're talking about an orange tiger, there's so many different gradations in there. You got a little bit of black, you've got a little bit of an orange to it, maybe a touch of red. There can be more to that than there is to something that's basically black and white, obviously. So paying attention to what it is that you're trying to have them render is important, but making sure you have a good person to do the work. I'm okay doing HueForge. I am nowhere near the experts that I've seen online about putting that stuff together, nor is my equipment yet to the point where I can render that well. I've got 8 colors that I can use. Of those 8 colors, one's white and one's black. Those are right off the rip. You're going to need white, you're going to need black for the backgrounds, so those are set up already. I have a gold that I can use for faces, kind of. It's not quite the same thing that you would think of when you're talking about gold as in the metal. It's not even quite the same as goldenrod, but it's close. It's a little bit more toward the brown side. But I can use that for certain skin tones. I've got some greens, I've got some blues, I've got red. So I've got some colors I can use. The unit that I've got would allow me to go up to 16 colors. But remember, if you have if you're doing photography and you've got a printer, there's a lot more colors that some of the professional photography printers have in them. I've got a Pro 1 that's got an entire half of it is just blacks and grays. So you figure you're going to have to have white, you're going to have black, you're going to have gray. There's 3 colors taken out of whatever your maximum is. Mine's 8. So there's 3 colors gone. That only gives me 5 other colors that I can play with. Going to the full 16 would make life a little easier for me, but there's more expense to it, obviously. But again, I'm doing all the work myself because I do a whole bunch of things, and I don't have a huge clientele of photographs that I'm making, so I'm not burned over into my photography doing that so much that I don't have time for other things. So for me, it's going to be capturing dragonflies and butterflies and flowers and those kinds of things and turning them into, hopefully, a second stream of income for myself. I decided to use Etsy basically because of their fees, which right now are fairly inexpensive for me. Store setup was $29. It's 20 cents every time you put a listing up. And the listings do cycle during the year, meaning that they expire and you will have to redo them again, which is another 20 cents. I can handle 20 cents for the dozen or so items that I'm going to have up there. But it allows me to do something different with my art other than just selling prints, right? It's something unique that I can do, but you can do it too if you find someone to partner with. So while we haven't been talking about getting the tools yourself this time, we are talking about reaching out to other places to partner up. When you sell your prints, if you sell them behind glass and framed, you probably don't do the glass and framing yourself. So it's the same type of thing we're doing here. It would be equivalent to if you send your stuff out for retouching. The same type of rigor you want to put on anybody who's going to do stuff through HueForge. And maybe you have them do every single job for you and send it to you for approval before it goes to print. Perfectly reasonable, right? To make sure that you're happy with the way it looks. They can do a screen capture with your picture on one side and what their rendering is going to look like on the other. And you can see it, and then that can go to the printer. Again, if you're going to do that, there has to be communication between your HueForge person and your printing person, because the HueForge person is going to have to know for this job, what colors does the printer have available, the numerical values of each color and the transparencies are important in order for it to look correct. And to be in HueForge, that allows HueForge to try to render it in the same fashion that it's going to be once it gets printed. So it's important to build a relationship if this is something you want to do. Now, as the reason I was saying about times of the year, think about this. If you are out shooting only during the summer and during the, so spring, summer, autumn, right? You've got beautiful colored pictures and things that you've done. Now, what do you do during the winter? If you have something like this, where there's bookmarks that are being sold, it's not seasonal. So while you can put seasonal things up, like for example, if you want to put something up with a bunch of hearts over Valentine's Day, maybe you got a beautiful picture of an archway that's made out of vines that's heart-shaped, and you want to render that into a bookmark. Again, remember how wide your bookmark's going to be. But if you've got things like that that you want to render and put together, you can do that, swap them out as you go. But at the same time, you've got something that could be a constant stream of money for you. That's not to say you're not going to have to change up your, add to and change up your lineup, your listings that you've got. But at the same time, it allows you to have a little bit more money coming in when you're not shooting, right? And wouldn't that be nice to have a couple of extra bucks coming in every week or every month when you're not shooting, so that you can look at getting new gear, look at getting things set up, paying for backup, right? You want your photos to be backed up. How are you going to do that? You got to pay for it. Having an extra stream of money coming in to keep those bills paid on the side while you go out and do what you want to do with your photography, that's important. So that's what I got for you guys this week. I'll keep you up to date on how things are going. I just put the Etsy platform up, 3D Items LD Photography. I've only got 3 up so far. I did the shoots of the items. I've shot a video for each of the items as well. And I'm playing around with how I'm going to do the tassels. Sourcing the tassels. I'm not printing the tassels, obviously. So how I want to do it, and do I want to offer multiple colors for people? Those kinds of things are still being worked out. But again, it was inexpensive to set the store up. There'll be fees every time that I make a sale, obviously. So the other important thing to do is either have a spreadsheet ready with what your costs are going to be for every piece of it, like packing material, shipping. You're going to have to take time to do this stuff, so make sure that it's included in your totals. And if you can't do the spreadsheet yourself, find somebody who can help you out with that, just like you do with your business books. If you're not doing it yourself, the same accountant that you've got doing that can help you figure out how much you're going to make on each item that you sell and what you need to sell them at. And from there, you can have a separate little business, separate from even making, printing photographs. And depending on how you've got it set up, it might be as simple for you, once you've had your HueForge person set it up, and you have, let's say, the print files necessary for your printing person to make for you, you can either just tell them which file to use, or, and that's where you come making that the SKU so that you know which file they need to use, or if they're not saving the file and they're giving it to you to save, you can just forward the file to them and say, okay, I need 5 of these, and let them print them up. The other thing that's important, though, is once the item is created in HueForge, there has to be a hole in there if you're going to put something like a tassel in. So there's an intermediate step between the HueForge and the printing, and that is to have somebody open that STL up and put the hole in at the top, save the STL back so that that STL is the one that's used to print. It saves you from having to drill any holes after it gets done. And again, unless your printer is also going to put tassels on it, or you're not going to do tassels, it's going to have to come to you before it goes out. So you have to keep all those costs and time in mind, so that you can tell your customer what to expect for timing, and you know how much time it's going to take you to go do the work. If you're doing them without tassels on it and all they have to be is 3D printed, then maybe your printer could actually send them out for you. If you said, hey, I need this job printed to go here and this job printed to go there. But again, that comes down to getting a partnership between you, a renderer, somebody who can put the hole in it if that's what you need to have done, as well as the printing people. So that's what I got for you guys this week. I know it's been a little long this week. Thank you for bearing with me, and I'll talk to you all next week.